Hello and welcome to Studio Biz and All That Jazz. This is episode 101 of our newly branded podcast. Yay! Thank you so much for being here. My name is Josephine Lancuba, your performing arts business coach, speaker, talent manager, and industry mentor. And today I am joined by the lovely Mel Lathouras. Now, Mel is a singer, speaker, coach, educator, and podcaster who has performed professionally for over 20 years and coached for 10. Now, this lady is super smart, super savvy. She's got 4 degrees. She's got a postgraduate qualification in music. She's got, in vocals, education and bachelor's degree in journalism, which I was really surprised by. And I thought that was just phenomenal. And she's also had an eclectic career in corporate communications, high school teaching, and is now a full-time singer, speaker, and coach. Now, in 2015, Mel created Fearless Singer, a community helping singers overcome their fear blocks to live the life of their dreams, which now has over 500 members, which is amazing. Now, she launched her Fearless Singer podcast, which I was actually a guest on only a few weeks ago. Me and Mel actually met in a women's business networking group, and you don't often see artists and creatives, like performing arts creatives, that is, in these business spaces. So it was just so lovely to see. And so as soon as we met, we're like, yeah, let's do a podcast swap. Let's collaborate, let's connect. And that's what's so beautiful about getting out there and meeting new people. And I was very fortunate to meet Mel. She's absolutely fab, and you're going to get to know her a little bit in this show. Now, her podcast receives hundreds of downloads every month and is praised for its inspiring content. So we love that. And she's going to be inspiring you today on the show. We're going to talk about not just Fearless Singer. Yes, we're going to talk about that and how to become fearless. And I actually asked that question during the interview. I said, is it possible to teach someone to be fearless? And the answer Mel gave was yes. And then she broke it down. And I think that's going to be really interesting, because it's not just about being a singer here, guys. This is about how to adapt that fearlessness into your everyday life, into your business, into everything that we do. So this is a really great conversation around that. We also talk about the arts industry as a whole, from studio ownership, teaching, through to artistry, performance, and more. You're in for a treat. That's all I have to say. Mel is absolutely fantastic. Now, she lives and coaches in Brisbane's vibrant West End. I love that she lives in the West End in Brisbane. That's kind of, I've been to the West End in London, guys. I never been to the West End in Brisbane. So Mel, you got to take me there, okay? It sounds cool. With her cat, and performs regularly with her femme-led jazz band, Yes Queen, and in her soul jazz project, Little Mel. She also puts on large-scale productions, and she's a fearless singer, and that's what she showcases in her business and life. And that's why I'm so excited to share this with you. Let's learn how to be fearless. Let's learn from Mel today. Let's leap into the show.
Hello and welcome to Studio Biz and All That Jazz. I'm your performing arts business coach and host, Josephine Lancuba. This show is designed to bring you inspiration, information, and the instruments you need to create and grow the studio biz of your dreams. I will bring you a mix of solo episodes as well as interviews where I tap into the minds of industry experts. My career started as a performer over 2 decades ago. I later became a speaker, theatrical producer, and talent manager, as well as having a successful teaching career in singing, drama, and dance. 10 years into my professional journey, I became a mama of 2, and with a baby on my hip, opened up my very own performing arts studio. From hardship and humble beginnings to 4 studio locations and a multi-6-figure performing arts biz, I know how to attract students and keep them coming back for more. And in the show, I will share with you my experiences to help you thrive and fast-track your path to success. I know you have a spark inside of you with dreams and goals for the future. As your coach and mentor, I'm here to help you step into your limelight and be a cheerleader in your ear each and every week. So get ready to be entertained and inspired as we talk studio biz and all that jazz.
Hello, Mel Lathouras, and welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here too.
Now, we've been having a bit of a fun chat beforehand, and we're going to get into all of that, your backstory, all the beautiful things. But firstly, you know, you're a singer, you're a speaker, voice and life coach, creator of Fearless Singer, and there's so many beautiful elements to what you do, and we're gonna talk about that journey. But what I'd love to start with today is, you know, your voice is really the tool that is your business, but also I can see potentially a big part of your life. So how did you know, or when did you know that you had a voice that you wanted to share? How did that journey start for you?
It started when I was really young, and I know this sounds really corny, but I was singing when I was a little tiny girl, and I was obsessed with Somewhere Over the Rainbow, the song. And, you know, I would literally stand in our rickety old Queenslander in the middle of Bundaberg and just honestly stand there. What a little loser, but no, I shouldn't be so mean to myself. On the stairs and just sing it to everybody that would be walking past. And yeah, I think, but it wasn't a way of showing off. I genuinely just loved to sing, and I knew that part of loving something is to share it without, you know, really understanding that. But it must have been an impetus, because, you know, I'd do it a lot. You know, you'd put on little shows, and I'm sure you would have done the same thing as a little girl too. You put on those little house concerts for anyone who, you know, wanted to listen.
Yeah.
You know, with your cousins, or, you know, so yeah, it was just
put
such
on parties in the street. I totally get it. Yeah.
Sitting
outside the front, like everyone wanted to hear it or something. Creating musicals, actually, funnily enough. But yeah.
Oh, I can so imagine you doing that. And yeah, so I think yeah, I knew as a young girl that it was important to share whatever it is that you, not even that you thought you were good at, but just something that you loved. So it started back then.
Yeah,
and then
amazing.
of course, you know, I got singing lessons and speech and drama, and that
When
was
did you
really
start
encouraged.
singing lessons?
I didn't actually start proper lessons until I was 12,
Yeah.
because a lot of the old school teachers of that time believed that, you know, to get lessons as a young one, it's not healthy in terms of, you know, teaching technique. But now we know that it's actually, you can teach young people to sing, but it's more through, you know, you're teaching musicality as opposed to actual vocal technique. But yeah, so I didn't get lessons until I was a little bit older, but I was doing a lot of, you know, speech and drama and acting up until that point, and still doing a lot of, you know, community shows. And so I was very much actively a part of the community in Bundaberg. And, you know, if they found out you could sing, you're singing at every kind of event, you know.
Well, that's the beauty of, you know, small or regional or country communities, is that you do actually get those community opportunities and become that go-to person for those sorts of events. And that's actually a really beautiful thing. You talked about actually, and you know, a lot of the people listening here are studio owners and teachers and educators and people like that. And obviously you're a vocal coach. And you actually, I thought that was interesting what you talked about, because the technique of what you used to teach, of how you were in the world as a student, has really changed to what you teach now. Do you see that often through your evolution of teaching? Do the rules keep changing, or how does that evolve?
Yeah, well, I think in terms of vocal science pedagogy, it's definitely come a long way since, you know, I was, you know, in my pre-teens, and even right up until my 20s. So we've actually discovered a lot through the, you know, through technology that's been invented to actually go inside and see what is actually happening to the vocal muscles. We know that some of the techniques that we were taught aren't 100% true, but that's what everybody could feel. So, the teaching landscape has changed because now we know what is actually physically happening inside. But before, we had to rely on just feeling and using, analogy and descriptors that could potentially also create a bit of confusion in some people because we all feel things differently. So yeah, it's changed because we know exactly what's going on, and we can actually use exact terminology now and be able to teach that. But yeah, with the young ones, we do tend to steer away from using heavy technique language, and we just talk about, sort of making healthy sounds, but we are really just, we're there to build musicality and also confidence, and more importantly, the love of performing.
Yeah.
And sharing
Absolutely.
that gift. Doesn't matter, how you sound, but it's about, sharing and also being part of, a collaborative, whether it's an ensemble, so, being in a band or singing with other
Yeah, it's about
singers.
that process, really, isn't it?
Yeah, just loving being part of something bigger than
Mm,
yourself, and loving
absolutely.
music. Yeah.
Absolutely. I would love to know when it shifted from being the student and being amongst the community to then being a professional singer, and then eventually, moving into teaching and coaching. How did that journey begin for you? Like, when did you know, hey, I can actually do this and get paid for it?
Yeah, actually that was a bit of a journey because I got to 17. I really wanted to be Maria Callas. Uh, she was another glamorous Greek lady, and I wanted to be her, not even just be her in her like 20s or 30s. I wanted to be her when she was 50. I even
Yeah.
developed a warble, thinking I was going to be like her. And I auditioned for the Queensland Conservatorium and was, didn't audition anywhere else, didn't put any preferences for other unis. I wanted to be an opera singer, and I got an A on my audition. So I was like, yep, I'm in. This is what I'm doing next year. And I didn't get in.
You got an A and didn't get in.
No, and I'm
Wow.
pretty sure it was an admin error. But at the time, I didn't have much confidence as a young kid, and I didn't really have. I don't know. I just didn't have anyone to sort of go in and question these things. To
Or
ring
just
up. And
advocate for you and say, hey,
yeah, yeah.
even if there is, is there a wait list? Is there maybe someone bumps
Yeah,
up or
that's it. It
whatever,
was
and show
kind of
your
up to me, which
enthusiasm?
is kind
Yeah.
of cool if I, in retrospect, it was, to teach that, that autonomy.
Mm.
But in saying that, it put me on a completely different path. So I did a year in like a performing arts subject, degree in Rockhampton. Didn't particularly love Rockhampton. No offense to anyone from Rockhampton.
I'm not familiar, so I don't know.
It's
I don't
it's
want to dive
it's
too deep, but what about
it's
Rockhampton didn't you love?
it's the center for meat. It's like, they have a statue of a bull in the middle of the town. It's
Right.
like
Are you
surrounded by
vegetarian?
mountains, and I have, what's that, sorry?
Are you a vegetarian?
No, it's, there's a lot of, meat workers up there. There's a lot of also
What's a
serial
meat?
killing and people, slaughtering each other with knives and stuff like that. Anyway, I shouldn't just flippantly say things like that because Bundaberg is also known for like killing backpackers. Um,
Love
so,
it.
so it's edgy. If you've grown up
Yeah.
in Rockhampton, you've survived. Well done,
Yeah.
congratulations. And I'm going to move away from this subject about Rockhampton, but I got far away from there, and I thought, okay, well, what do I want to do? And
Mm.
so I love people, so I decided to go and do journalism. And
Wow.
yeah, so I did journalism at QT, and for the purpose of, because I love doing this, I love talking to people and finding
Okay.
out about their stories. As you know, I've got a podcast and you've been on it.
Yes.
Um, and I did a week. So I finished that. I did a week at the ABC. This was just before there was the big health crisis here at Toowong, where a lot of journalists got breast cancer and they had to demolish the site.
Wow.
It was actually a week before that happened. And I realized, oh my God, if this is it, if this is journalism, I don't want to have anything to do with it. This is so intense. So I went and just kept working in my little music shop job. I worked in a record store. And finally, I got a little break in government, and then I worked in media in government for a long time and rose the ranks. It's easy to do, you know, there's definitely a scale, and got quite high up in media there. But I was still performing in rock bands and on the weekends, and definitely feeling like a bit of a just like a bit of a phony, because I was, you know, I was living it up on the weekends and pretending to be like this real hardcore little rocker, and then having to like get up early on a Monday morning and go back to work and be, you know, in meeting mode. Like I literally, and I was so bored and I was so desperately sad when I was in those roles. Like I would go into meetings and sometimes I'd feel like I'd have to like literally get toothpicks, you know, to keep my eyes open. And I'm not even exaggerating. Like I
Yeah.
found it so hard to keep my eyes open. I would like, you know, look out the windows. It was the skyscraper overlooking George Street and the Brisbane River going, oh, there's people having lives and I'm stuck in here in this unnatural light. I don't know why fluoro lights exist, you know.
Yeah, I think this is a really common feeling that creatives and artists have, because I felt exactly the same when I had an office job. And it's not because there's anything wrong with having an office job, it's because it wasn't for me. And
Yeah.
I know exactly that feeling of looking out the window thinking, oh my gosh,
Oh, it was
I want to
so
be out there.
desperately, agonizingly sad, and then you'd be like with the fluoro lights, like, oh, this just you feel like just a,
Yeah.
you know, I feel sorry for the plants also in those offices.
And it's like living a double life, isn't it? Because
It is.
it's you know, suit by day and rock star by night. So how did you go from that sort of position and then transition fully and commit? You talk about being fearless. I mean, that's
Yeah,
even just
yeah.
the bravery of making a leap of faith and saying, I'm gonna like go for this. I mean, when did that transition happen for you?
Yeah, well, there's a bit of a story to it. So I'm going to try and like just get the key
Yeah.
parts. I actually decided, okay, right, I saved up all my money and thought I'm going to move to the UK. I'm going to go to London. I'm going to become a rock star and, you know, not going to be doing any of this ever again. But I went over there, saw how hard it was to get any kind of job, and just went straight back into the same kind of work. And doing this same thing. It's like I uplifted my life here and just put it over there. I didn't even do much travel because I was, you know, doing gigs on the weekends, and it was just doing rock gigs as well. But what happened was I started getting jazz piano lessons from this guy in Chiswick, and I've always loved jazz, even though I thought I was going to be an opera singer. I did grow up listening to a lot of jazz and loved Nina Simone, and yeah, so really got into that. And my piano teacher was like, why don't you try singing this? You know, you've got a great voice. And yeah, and then I just started learning a lot of the repertoire and became hooked. And I thought, you know what? I had to come home. I detoured past China, did a little bit of a teaching gig over there, came home, and I thought, okay, I'm 27. I'm definitely at a crossroad now. I can either go and just study music, or I can just keep going the way that I'm going. And, you know, I'm so unhappy, you know, so what are you going to do? Just take the risk, or you're going to like give yourself an early grave? Like it felt a bit, I know that sounds so dramatic, but
It feels
honestly, I
that
feel
way.
like it does feel
understand
that
you.
way.
Yeah.
So I just decided to just go straight into studying. I did my Bachelor of Music, and I did it in jazz performance. And then, yeah, and then I think through studying, I found that for me, that was an easier kind of pathway of like, you know, planting yourself in a scene, getting to know other people, getting to understand, you know, the nature of gigs and how to get them and all the rest of it. And, you know, collaborate with other people. You don't have to go and study, but it was just a pathway for me. And then I went and did my master's. And then because jazz is it's definitely changing, it's getting way more inclusive, but at the time it felt like if you're a chick singer, if you're a white female singer, you're not taken seriously, you know. It's like, do you know your key, love? Like, you know, it's kind of condescending. It was at the time, still is, maybe in different parts. It's better here in our Brisbane scene. We're way more inclusive and understanding of each other. But at the time, it was a bit of a boys' club. So Fearless Singer was actually born while I was doing my master's in jazz and vocal pedagogy to help other singers, you know, to feel empowered, to overcome some of the stigma, you know, that we had attached to us. And yeah, just a place to feel empowered. And that's where that's how it started. It then became part of my studio, my teaching space. And I did that for quite a few years. But then I guess because I was young, I still felt young, but I didn't really understand how to build a business at the time. So I went and did my grad dip in education, and I did 4 years in teaching while I was still actually building Fearless Singer.
How many years have you been in some sort of educational facility or uni?
I know, mate. I
feels like you just said 3 degrees in the last.
I've got friggin' 4 degrees. I am dying with my. No, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say dying with my debt. No. We're going for the $1 million business. Yeah. I like to say that, like, you know, because I also have a thing about authority, but I've just got to.
Yeah, and I mean, you say that you're a champion of women in music. You talk about empowering women.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. And it's now through the life coaching, it's become really about helping. So you might go Fearless Singer. Well, I don't really want to sing, but I'm very much about helping people discover their voice, whether it's through singing or speaking or communicating, telling your story, and really becoming the center stage of your life. Because I think as women, we're always there to nurture everybody else, the little shadow artists. You know, we're there to, you know, make sure that our partners or our kids or our best friends, we're there to support them, and we forget about ourselves. And so I'm here to go, no, you've got a really important story to share, because my belief is that we're all born with a story. And whether you share that through standing on a stage and telling your story, or you're singing it, or you're creating some kind of performing art around it, you're there to share it, and you're there to be in the center stage and do that. And whether that means like a physical stage, or you're doing the
center stage of your life, right?
The center stage of your life.
Totally get it.
Stop being the friggin' extras to everybody else.
Background extras? No. No one gets a career out of being the background extra, right?
That's it. So that's how Fearless Singer was born. And I, like, after COVID, it was just, can I swear on the podcast?
Yeah.
It was just so fucked for teachers. It still is. Like, everyone's still recovering. And I just went, you know what? I didn't love the feeling of not being in control of my own life during that. I felt like the teachers and the students were just thrown, like, to the wolves, and the parents of those kids. Like, it was such a awful time for everybody. And I just went, you know what? This is not a stable job. This is not security. This is actually friggin' scary. And I'd rather create my own sense of security and stability through building my business. And that's when I went full time. So now like I said, I have multiple projects where, I've got Girl from Greece. So we have a concert coming up, and we've got a big show next year, potentially at QPAC. I do a lot of gigging. But I also, do a lot of coaching in this space. But my main baby is our Fearless Singer community, and it's a membership. So I've got a group of singers, mostly women, but I've got 2 blokes in the group. And we perform regularly. So I book a particular venue, like, every couple of months, and we
sort of
all
like
get
an open mic night type of
kind of, but it's a bit more staged. And I book musicians, and they sing and they perform. But for some of them, that's their first ever experience of performing, and they just blow me away every time. They just get so much more confident, and then of course their talent is just, it's even tenfold from where they started. It's just incredible to watch.
I love that you're providing a performance opportunity for adult students who potentially come from what it sounds like all different avenues, levels, abilities.
Yeah.
So that inclusive platform, that's
Yeah.
so fantastic.
And also too, I have 2 young students, so I don't actually teach a lot of young ones. I've got 2 in my mix, and they come as well, and they're there
amazing.
at the bar
Yeah, I love that.
with their parents, of course, and
Yeah, I love that.
there's
Now
no
you
underage
mentioned
drinking on my watch.
you talked about dropping the F-bomb and then affirmations. I'm going to go to a YouTube clip that I saw of you doing "I'm effing magic" affirmation song. Is that, tell me about that, because you say you're a little bit woo, you love your affirmations. I'm watching this content and I'm just loving it. Is that original music, or where do you come up with this inspiration, and why do you create these sorts of this sort of music and put it out?
Yeah, sure. So I'm actually I'm a professional jazz singer, and I've been performing jazz for a long time. But before that, I was in garage bands, and I love punk. And I love quirky, silly music with silly lyrics. And in a few weeks' time, I'm going to be doing a country gig, and then after that, I'm going to do a Greek gig. So I've actually gone from thinking, no, I'm going to be a serious jazz singer, to now, like, I just do everything and I love everything. I'm not a snob when it comes to music, because all music to me it's from the divine. And as performers and singer songwriters, or even if you're just singing in the shower, you don't identify as any of those, what you're doing is you're a conduit, you're channeling that magic from the divine, that music. So for me, it's like, no one is here to judge. Like, no one should be judging, because that's something that's greater and beyond us. So whatever comes through, even if some people might think it's silly, I really don't care now, because I go, no, that's from the divine. And so "I'm Fucking Magic" was this cute little punk pop song that came through last year, and it was a way of going, just F off all those old narratives that keep us stuck. For me, being the serious jazz musician and wanting to be taken seriously, yada yada, yucky. Like, just F that off, focus on who you are. And and I'm not a little bit woo, I'm 100% woo.
Yeah.
So I believe that we are all spirits having a meat sack experience here. I mean, so it's like, if that's the case, we're here for a good time. We're here to experience the gamut of all aspects of life, including pain, because we need polarity. Otherwise, the joy wouldn't be as joyous if we didn't have that contrast. And so, as artists, and I believe we're also all artists, it's just about having fun and experimenting. And so that song was really an affirmation song to say, this is who I am. I'm magic. I can create anything in my life if I believe, and I focus on the gratitude, and I focus on my own sovereignty, and I focus on what I'm here to do, which is more than anything to do with me. It's a greater purpose. We're here to build community and to serve and to inspire. Like, that's what it's about. So it's a bit of a reclamation song.
Yeah.
And and
I love that. And I think that's important. I think that's important. And I love, look, I'm very much into affirmations. I think it's a big deal. It's everything that drives me forward. I have them, little cue notes, cue symbols around me on my desk, in my wardrobe. I'm all about it. This morning I was journaling and meditating, and I think it's really an important part of just creating a narrative in your mind that is positive, that drives you forward. Because if you don't take time to create those affirmations or have those thoughts, and it can be really hard. It can be hard running a creative business unless you have to remain positive, because there's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of, financial fear at times. I mean, I know you mentioned during COVID, there was that challenge as well. Out of all the things that you do, like you've mentioned, again, singer, speaker, coach, you produce events, you have that, you're a singing teacher as well. what lights you up the most, do you think? Like, where is it, if, what is the thing, or does it all have to make sense together?
Uh, Look, it all has to make sense together. So many things light me up. Music lights me up. Being on stage, being with an amazing band lights me up, and looking out to the audience. I feel like if you're not separate to the audience when you're performing, that's the other thing too. It is like, just for me, it's like a big party with friends, and they are all part of the performance. And so just feeling that connection with the band, with Source, with the audience, and being at that moment in time is really special. And then the same thing goes for at a Fearless Singer Showcase, and seeing some of the Fearless Singer members get up and perform. You literally feel like your heart is about to explode out of your chest. It's just it's just so beautiful, seeing other people shine. So yeah,
It's
it
an
all
intertwining thing.
It's intertwining. And the other thing too, you mentioned that I put on shows. So I put on a production tribute to Amy Winehouse a couple of years back, and we had an
Did
amazing.
you play Amy?
No, there was a big lineup of singers. We all played Amy. Yeah, we all did.
So you got the black hair going. I can totally see it.
We didn't dress up as her, because my partner at the time, he's still my collaborator and best friend, but he is obsessed with Amy Winehouse, and if anyone put on a wig, he would probably, I don't know, you just wouldn't be in the same room with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very much about, no, we're honoring her artistic integrity and her work. But yeah, that was really successful. And also I put on an event called Femme Jazz, and had another lineup of incredible women and female identifying performers. And just seeing the enormous talent in a room lights you up. Like, I just went to an audition the other day, and I have to say I sucked hardcore. And I just went whoosh. In the moment, I just changed the narrative. It's like, yeah, you left that too late to learn those parts. But now you can get to sit back and watch all these young people that have come to this audition prepared, who are phenomenal, and they just blew me away. Like, the amount of talent that is here in Brisbane, I was so proud. Like, it made me so proud. Anyway, I could keep carrying on.
I love that as well, that you're still out there, you're still putting yourself forward. And those moments of rejections as you get older, it's all part and parcel, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you talk about fearless? I mean, that's part of your brand messaging, and it's a really strong part. I mean, you've called the fearless singer. So when we talk about being fearless, how do you teach someone to be fearless? Like, can you teach that? How do you share that with
absolutely.
others? And are you fearless?
Yeah, I would say I am. And to be honest, look, there's always fear within me, and there's always blocks that come up from time to time, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know I believed that. Ooh. And it feels like squeezing a blackhead. You know how it's kind of exciting? Yeah. You're like, ooh, exciting. So that's, to me now, it's like, oh, yep, time to go now. Like, lucky I found you, kind of thing. So you can teach fearlessness, and it really comes back to that teaching. I love Gabrielle Bernstein, and she talks about miracles being a shift in paradigm. So it's these small, tiny little shifts. And in the moment, you probably don't, if you're not tuned into those tiny little cosmic shifts that you're creating, they're happening regardless of if you're aware of them. But you'll get to that other sort of port. Say, for instance, we hear that Abraham Hicks analogy of going down that that stream, and we have to drop the oars because we don't want to paddle upstream. Well, I imagine that stream with all these tiny little ports all the way through, like, because we've got these destination points towards wherever we need to go. And so sometimes we end up at one of these ports, and if we're not aware of those tiny little shifts, we go, well, how did that happen? But those tiny little shifts are miracles, and they do add up to these big, momentous points in our life wherever we need to go, so we get to those ports. So the way you teach fearlessness is through tiny little reframes all the time. So I've got to this point in my life because I have just, when things come up for me, like obviously it's important that you feel them and you honor that, you know, it's usually a wounded child, like it's an inner child thing, and it's a time in your life that's you've been impacted. So whether it's like trauma or even just a misunderstanding, so someone said something to you as a kid and you've taken it the wrong way, but you acknowledge what's going on, so it's important to be aware, and then you reframe it. And so now when shitty things happen, or I put myself in shit situations like going to an audition unprepared, rather than focusing on any kind of drama around it, oh no, this is in front of people I know and respect, and they respect me, and I've kind of let, you know, rather than buy into that, I just quickly shifted. It's a quick reframe now because I've practiced that for
what
many,
is the
many
reframe?
years.
So as an example, when you talk about
So for instance, walking into an audition unprepared, but you did your best, you know, and knowing that, oh shit, I stuffed that up, and I'm definitely not going to get that, you know. Sometimes you've got to, there is reality, you know, you got to go, that wasn't that good enough, you know. But rather than go and sit down and feel really humiliated or like buying into those, you know, bigger dramatic feelings, which are valid. I mean, you can feel that for a moment, but you just don't hang out in that space. So in that moment, I was able to sit down and go, oh, I stuffed that up. That was a bit embarrassing in front of my 2 peers. But I was in the room with all these incredibly talented young artists. So I sat down and I watched them, and I really enjoyed their performances, and I enjoyed their voices and felt so proud of them and also their teachers, because I would probably know a lot of their teachers, that they've all come super prepared. They're incredible talent. And so I left that audition just levitating out the door, because I was just so enthralled by the beautiful talent in the room. And as opposed to then, you know, and it could have gone the other way. It could have gone like, oh, I'm such a fucking loser. Why did I fucking do that? I should have just not gone. I wasn't prepared enough, but I didn't want to let anyone down. You know, so it's really just, it all comes back to choice, you know, how you want to see something. And what would you rather? Would you rather beat yourself up and feel shit for, you know, and honestly, those hangovers for feeling shit can last days if you let them. Or would you rather reframe in the moment and then go and get on with your life and go and do other beautiful creative things, you know? Yeah, get back to what you need to do.
Yeah,
you want
totally.
to do.
Attention dance and performing arts studio owners and teachers. Are you looking for new program and service ideas or a fresh approach to engage your students? Do you want to learn innovative ways to improve the efficiency of your studio business, saving you much needed time and money? I'm excited to share with you an event that I have coming up that is set to help studio owners grow their business through fresh ideas, future thinking, and innovation. You may have noticed a big shift in the way students and parents engage with us, as well as a change in student commitment and retention. You also may have felt the real pinch more recently when it comes to rising costs impacting our studio revenue and, even more importantly, your profit margins. It's essential to move with the times and improve how we do things in our industry. So I would like to introduce to you an event called Studio Innovation Conference, and it is the future of performing arts studio businesses. Let's face it, this world is changing and we need to stay relevant to stay in business. It's happening on Friday, the 8th of September in Sydney, Australia, and all studio owners, teachers, and team are welcome to take part. Go online, grab your tickets, head to josephinelancuba.com/conference, and the link is in the show notes. See you at Studio Innovation Conference.
Do you teach singing in person, or is it online, like with your singing coaching?
Yeah,
side of
so
things?
here in the studio, so I'm in Brisbane's West End, but I also do online coaching as well.
So
Yeah,
you've still got that studio environment, and you've also got your coaching clients, of course.
Yeah.
How do you, attract students? So is it that you've established yourself over time, or do you have a strategy around attracting singing students, or how do you do that in your business?
Yeah. So the way I do it is it obviously, it has happened over time, and then building credibility as well. But I do a weekly podcast. I also every fortnight put out free resources. I once a month I have a Fearless Singers Facebook group, which is free to join. And then I do private podcasts in there, as well as workshops, for free. So I do a lot of free content that I put out. And also the strategy is really about just sharing as much as I can and know, and then putting myself out there so that people can really get a sense of who I am and what I'm about and what Fearless Singer is about. Yeah.
I think that not enough studio owners tap into what you just said, and that is giving resources, free resources online, obviously with an opt-in option, so you're getting their details, right? I assume. So you're getting their email address, and then your database. So when you are launching a program or a course, or enrollments are open or whatever, depending on your studio environment, they're now on your mailing list. I know you work predominantly with, maybe some young people, but also older people as well. So it's a more mature studio environment. But even for people who are teaching children, I actually think that is such a great tip to tap into, like, what ballet shoes to buy your toddler, or, here's a PDF on how to properly fit your point shoes for your teenage daughter, like parents would buy into that because it's free content, and that's going to help their kid. So I think that's a really easy to do tool. Obviously, there's time involved in setting it up, but once it's set up, they're funneling into your database. Do you find that you get a good result from these sorts of resources?
Yeah, I do. So I have a free opt-in on my website, so you have to provide your email address to get it, but it's a daily singing routine, and you can, because I use Kajabi, which hosts my website and my online courses. They can download that as an app, and then they've got singing exercises that if they just did that every day, they'll be taking care of their voice. So that's part of the Fearless Singer kit. And like you said, it's important to collect email addresses, because it's I don't know. I just feel like with the changing landscape of social media, as we've just seen with the new threads and
Twitter's even
now
Twitter turning into X and whatever.
It's just so
vulnerable.
Yeah, it's so vulnerable. You're better off having your own little space, a little landing space for people, and yeah, I think and if you get into that space of the same thing, the little girl that wants to share the love of, like when I was little, I'm still kind of going, why did you call yourself a loser? At the beginning, I was like, I was like, that's a bit of a negative talk that I've, obviously going to go back and go, where did that come from? But yeah, wanting to share your gift with people, it's the same thing. It's like you're just touching base every week to go, hey, this is some of the stuff that's been really helping me this week. It may help you. You might be interested. Same thing with the podcast. Hey, I found this human, like Josephine Lancuba, so inspiring. She's done all this incredible stuff, and, she's done it all herself. She's really inspiring. You should check her out. Like, you're just in that nature of giving, And then, of course, people are going to unsubscribe from you. My own relatives unsubscribed from me. Like,
oh my gosh, I'll never forget that. Actually, when I first started, this is like a decade ago with my studio, I remember I was so excited. I started building my very first email list, and the first person to unsubscribe was my sister.
Oh, what a bitch.
Anyway, and I was like, how could she do that? How could she unsubscribe? Now I get it. Because she's not my client. She doesn't need to see my emails. She's my sister.
That's it.
It's not a numbers game, as in, for vanity's sake. It's about people who are genuinely engaged, and you're better off having them unsubscribe. Like anywhere up to, they say, on any newsletter, email out, up to 1%. Like if you lose 1%, that's okay. If you start losing 2%, 3%, I think that's a bit of a red zone, and you need to start looking at your copy and what you're sending or how you're sending it. But it's natural.
Oh, 100%. And like you just said, you want people that are genuinely engaged, even if they never book in with you. But I love hearing back from people, just telling me their stories or what's happening with their voice that week, or it's just you feel like you are building a genuine community, and that's what you're really after. Is
that's it.
Yeah, like sure, we are wanting, we have a business and we need to pay the bills and all the rest of it. That is important. But that will come if you focus on the outcome, which is to serve a community and to build a community. And it's this nature of sharing the love. Well, the rest will just come,
Yeah. And I think that's key. If you're not growing, you're dying, because if it's just a retention only strategy, and retention's really important, that comes through community, nurturing, building those beautiful connections. But you do need to attract the new people in, because eventually people move on. So, just having that lead system, or as you put it, you're sharing the love. So that's a different perspective on it. So yes, you can think of it as a lead magnet with a PDF and a funnel, or you can think of it as in, like you said, I'm sharing the love, I'm building community, I'm giving what I have out, and it comes back to me. Yeah. And it's a different mindset, isn't it? And I think that would take away from that block sometimes of people going, oh, I have to create the lead funnel.
I think there's also,
for creatives, that can be a really big mind-boggling concept, but it's actually just sharing the love and getting their details in return. That's it. So you can communicate with them.
I think business jargon does put a lot of creatives off. And also too, I feel like it's a very Australian thing. We're always overcoming this idea of, oh gosh, they'll think I've got tickets on myself, like there's that real big thing to get over, and also if you do have tickets on yourself, great, that's a good positive thing to really believe in yourself and to love yourself, and believe that whatever it is that you want to build, you can do it. It's funny.
I think as well,
we Australians are so funny, aren't we?
And even at 40, I still think I'm learning that lesson, and I'm really starting to get more comfortable in my own skin. Just a couple of years ago, I stopped wearing black. I used to wear black all the time, black only, because it made me look slimmer. How stupid's that?
Oh,
and then I was like,
that was shoved down our throats.
That was shoved down our throats, especially our generation. You had to wear black. Black made you look slimmer. And now I'm just like, oh God, I made a decision 2 years ago, was it 2 years ago, maybe 18 months ago, that I was going to step into color. That was what I'm going to step into color. And now I just love it. Like I don't care. That's what my body looks like. Like who cares? Same with photo shoots and stuff, anything you do for your brand. I know a lot of studio owners hide. They don't want to get in front of the camera. They don't want to show themselves as the rock star of their brand. And they don't get on like lives or stand next to their students on social media in that photo and things like that, or they're not featured on their website. And I just think we need to get over that a little bit. And, so what? You could have been 5 kilos lighter in that bloody photo shoot, but who really actually cares? When you lose the 5 kilos in 10 years, go get another photo shoot, but this is actually who you are now, and just embrace it. Even artists do this. Like as someone who's in talent agency and management, I always say to my artists, don't lie on your profile. Don't pretend to be something you're not, especially adults. They'll lie about their age and their dress size. But then when you walk into the audition room, you're not the person you are on paper. It doesn't work. You must represent yourself as you are. And honestly, as an artist, when I was auditioning back in the day, I remember I used to straighten my hair and wear high heels to the audition and dress all in black. And the minute I stopped doing that, it took me a long time to figure this out. I remember one audition I went in and I wore jeans, which, oh my gosh, that makes me look fat with a white top. Had my hair out and curly, not much makeup, flats on, and just went in and did it. And I got the job. And I just thought, oh my God, I have wasted a decade of my life trying to be what someone told me I was supposed to be. And that is so important. I think that comes through in every forms of business, not just for artists, but for business owners. You know, like I said, stepping into being that rock star of your business, get in front of the camera, showcase yourself, share the love, you know, celebrate the wins, and show up for your business.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And look, I just want to acknowledge, if anyone's listening to this and they do struggle with body image issues, you're not on your own.
No.
You're not on your own. We all do. We're all undoing centuries of patriarchy and capitalism and a diet industry in the 80s that probably has, you know, well, I know killed a lot of people, took a lot of casualties. So this is what we're undoing.
Yes.
I've been there. I've been 40 kilos heavier and had to overcome that and get on the screen because, you know, your body is actually it's the less interesting part of you. You know, it's your essence. It's your story. I mentioned that we're all born with a story to share. You are more than this meat sack that we have. You know, as much as I love this meat sack, I love it. It's like I've put on a little bit of weight, and honestly, I'm so grateful for all the different readings and the help that I've got over the years with this, because I look at my little ducky bum. That's what my mum used to call me in a cute, loving way. It wasn't to put me down. And I go, oh, I love this little cute ducky bum now. Like, you know, my little high-waisted jeans and, you know, and like it, not to rub that in, but it's taken me a long time to get to this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, like if I decided not to get in front of a camera 4 or 5 years ago, Fearless Singer wouldn't be where it is now. We wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be having this conversation with you. Yeah. You know, so I just decided that, well, you know what? Okay, if I can't love myself the way I am, like my body, I'm going to get to a place of neutrality where it's just like, you know, this is who I am. And that helped me.
Yeah, so and I think that helps showing up as well.
Yeah, so if you can work with a therapist to get to a place of neutrality about your body and your image, and then start just practicing showing up. Even if you feel like, oh no, I just look terrible, just do it anyway, because we need you. We need you. We need your voice. We need your own unique thing that you bring to the world. So please don't deprive us of that because of centuries of patriarchy and capitalism that was really set out about destroying us. Yes. You know,
and we're seeing it in dance studios, in dance culture. We see it in our young emerging artists, the pressure that they're feeling. I mean, you see it, you know, oh, that's not a typical ballet body. Or even the other day, I mean, someone made a comment in the gymnastics center about, you know, how wonderful my daughter is, and isn't it lovely that, you know, the norm of the gymnast body has changed. And I just thought, why even mention that? You know, like, F you, man.
Yeah, fuck you.
Like, what's that supposed to mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what are you talking about? That frustrates me, you know?
Can we just get to a point where that's not a fucking conversation that we have in front of our children? Can we just get to that point?
Like, what
so they don't have to grow up screwed up, like bodies. You know, exactly.
Yeah,
and have to undergo so much therapy.
Yeah, but it is changing. The landscape is changing. 100%. We're seeing more, you know, body positivity and acceptance. In dance studios, we're seeing a change in that as well. We're seeing different ways of, you know, costuming. Even uniform companies are making different sizes now and different colors and shades and all of that sort of thing. And we're seeing it in, you know, pop culture, singers, artists, but they still get scrutinized.
Oh yeah, like after the big thing with Lizzo,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, now you see all the most depressing thing you can do is to read comments
Mm.
about a plus size person who's done something wrong on the internet. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just so depressing seeing, oh, okay, that's where we still are. Mainstream
Yeah.
society still believes that about larger bodied people.
Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally. I would love to know, uh, I mean, we could chat forever, you and I, don't worry about that. But I'd love to know, what does success look like to you? How do you define success in your life?
Yeah. I think for me, I feel very successful. I may not have hit certain income goals yet, or, those kind of, like you said before, those metrics, that as business owners, particularly in the online space, we strive for. Um, but it's so interesting because I had to really have this stern conversation with myself, because I think with the pursuing of the metrics, it kind of this took me a little bit out of alignment with my vision and my service. So I had to really come back and go, mate, you're successful right now because you're doing what you love. Like, if I won the $100 million that was on offer from the Powerball a couple of weeks back, I would still be doing this right now. I'd still have people coming to the studio and I'd be helping with them with their voice or their projects or their creative dreams. I'd still be championing women in music. I'd still be performing. I'd still be doing the business coaching. This is my life's dream right now. So that's what success is to me. It's being able to wake up in the morning knowing that I don't have to go anywhere. I can hang out with my cat. I can drink my coffee. I can determine what my hours are going to be.
Yeah.
I don't have to go to a building that's really cold because of the air conditioning and they've got fluoro lights all throughout.
Back to the fluoros. Oh,
Yeah.
look, I totally hear you. I think as well, look, I do coach my clients that it is important to have a profitable business, but what level of profit or what is defined as enough money or desired amount of money or enough students or a desired amount of students really has to be up to the individual. And you can't tell someone that, oh, you've got less than 100 students, you're not successful. You've got 10 students, that's unsuccessful. Well, it depends, doesn't it? If that brings them enough that it fills their cup, that they're happy with their level of lifestyle through that, then that's enough. But I think it's when we start comparing ourselves to others where the danger is with metrics, because
100%.
it's the whole,
Yeah.
six-figure business, whatever. And I've run, multi six-figure businesses before and do. But then to go see that the bar keeps rising.
Yeah, that's
Now it's
it.
like, got to get to the 7. Then when
Well,
the 7 hits, got to get to the 8 figures.
I had to go, like, with this like last tax return, like, that's the other thing too. You're probably doing better than what you actually think sometimes. That's the other thing you've got to really, I think this is why you do have to develop a positive relationship, a healthy relationship with the metrics. So it's not like just
Yes.
avoid them. You do need to see what's happening, but it's a bit like just taking the drama and the story away from them. And like you said, not comparing yourself, because sure, I'm not a massive studio in terms of I don't have 100 students, but I'm also a premium service. So I charge more than what other singing teachers do. But it's not just the one-on-one stuff that my students get. They're part of a community, they're part of a group coaching service, they're part of multiple performance opportunities. So I feel as though it does warrant, like, what they get, it warrants the price, but it means that I can pay my rent and my car payment, and I can live a fairly comfortable life because of that. The other thing too is this is why you have to know your metrics. I had no idea. I made way over $100,000 just and this is my first year of properly being in business, not having any other kind of any kind of source of income. So before that, I was doing a bit of supply teaching, and before that, you knew I was
This
a
is your
full-time
full-time
teacher.
gig now.
This is my full-time gig. So, here I am thinking, oh, like I really need to get into my money boot camp. I'm with Denise Duffield Thomas in her course, and really reframe tax. That's definitely
Yes.
a bit of a block for me. But yeah, to go, oh shit, I didn't realize I made that much money.
Yeah, and you know what? I
yeah.
love that we're talking about money, and artists need to, and I consider studio owners and creative business owners artists, because we are.
Yeah, we are artists. Yeah.
We need to get comfortable talking about money, and setting goals, and yes, monitoring metrics. But like you said, we need to take the emotion out of the metrics. That doesn't determine our value. The metrics are not about us as human beings. It's just a tool. It's like anything else in business. It's a tool to go, where am I at? Oh, okay. Geez, those Facebook ads are costing me more than I'm getting back in return. So let's change up the ads or cancel the campaign. That's what metrics are. They're not to be invested emotionally into. And I think, if we need to detach ourselves from that and remove the comparisonitis, because that is where it becomes dangerous. And then you end up not in alignment. Like you said, when you're in alignment with what you're doing, the success can follow. Obviously we need to have persistence and a little bit of grit sometimes, but yeah, it needs to be in alignment, and I don't think metrics is the only thing to measure. So I love that you've said that about success, that it's about the joy and the alignment and waking up each day doing what you love. And that if you won $1 million, you'd still be doing it.
Still be doing it. I just would buy this building that I live in. Like, seriously, I'd own it.
I love that. I love that so much. So who or what inspires you, Mel?
Oh gosh, a lot of people inspire me. I think my beautiful mother. So, my mum retrained. Well, she didn't even finish high school when she was young, and at 40 she decided, you know what, I'm just going to go and reinvest in my education. So she went back to night school to finish her, get a senior certificate, and went to uni and put herself through with flying colors, and completely changed our financial situation at the time. So, and she's a woman that's done it all by herself, and she owns property, and so she really inspires me. And then I've got just incredible people around me, other artists. I work with a woman called Mel Lathouras. So she's my Greek sister, and we've got a girl from Greece together, and we've got a beautiful show coming up, and she's a real can-do. It's like we're bringing a bouzouki player from Melbourne. We've got a guitarist coming from Cairns, and she's like, yeah, we'll just make it happen. Ah. And she's so self-regulated. She's a music therapist as well as a performer, and so she's just this walking grace, and so she inspires me. I think I'm very much inspired mostly by women and female identifying people, and that's not to, I know that there are incredible men and trans men and all the rest of it, but I love women who just fearlessly go for what they want, and they tell stories. Like, I love female identifying storytellers. I was obsessed with the Barbie movie.
Yes, I saw your Ken shirt.
Oh, I've got the Barbie one too. These are from Nordacious, by the way. Beautiful artist here in Brisbane. So he created this.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so you can get them online as well. But yeah, so I'm just inspired by like Margot Robbie, and the fact that I didn't know that she has a production company called Chap One, and they put out Made, the Netflix series, which I absolutely love, because that's another strong, female story of empowerment. So yeah, I'm inspired by her. I was inspired by Greta Gerwig, and just really strong, intelligent women and female identifying people.
And bringing those stories to the forefront. I'm actually going to see tonight Menopause the Musical.
Oh, cool.
At the local theatre here. It's the professional cast, but I'm near a professional theatre in my local community, and going to see that show. So that'll be interesting, and that'll be filled with stories of women and hilarity. So I'm actually looking forward to that. But yeah, I love that so much. And so tell everyone listening, what's next? What's coming up for you, Mel?
Yeah. Okay. So I just mentioned our Girl from Greece, our debut show is on the 23rd of September. So if you are in Brisbane, it's at Speak Up Studio here in Spring Hill. And then we're going to be working on a really, really beautiful project called Nana Muscuri and Me, Stories of Belonging. So we're going to tell the story of Nana Muscuri, sing songs, as well as tell our diaspora stories, so where our families are from Greece and connecting, here in Australia. And so that's going to be really special. There'll be a project that we most likely will be performed during the Brisbane Festival next year. And then, yeah, I guess after that too, Fearless Singer is going to be an online course. So yeah. So so I've got the Fearless Singer membership. So everything that we sort of covered in there as a membership, I'm just going to condense it all into a course. So whether you are a singer that wants to just go full time into this realm, you want to explore what it would mean to be a full-time creative, and you want a place that you can really feel supported in developing your voice, because we have to always be working on our instrument, developing those, the performance skills, the mindset, and also the business. I think I'm very much big on singers having multiple streams of income, like you said, it's important that what will creatives do with more money? Think about it, like, yeah,
contribute to community.
Yeah, exactly.
Give joy to others.
That's it.
Yeah.
So that's it. So I think you and I are very similar in that, striving for that. That
yes,
we
I want
that narrative around.
Totally, and like we were talking about before, the narrative around money and all of it.
Yeah.
And we are more than the art. The art is what leads us.
Yeah.
But we can make money from what we do and be appreciated, and that's okay. Like, it's not a dirty word to say, pay me for my art, pay me for my service of teaching the art or whatever. So many times I just see teachers and studio owners and people in this industry scared to charge. So I love that you share multiple revenue streams for the artists themselves and how that can look in a business setting, because that's really an important message to share, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an energetic exchange, and you'll find that the more you just tap into that service, people just want to pay you. It's like me. I just, this artist, Nordacious, I swung him money when he had like all of his cartels drop, just didn't work. So, everything Shopify just did a few weeks ago, and I just went and put money into his account, and because I love him, he's a really incredible giving, sharing artist. I want to be able to do that. I want to give you my money because I believe in you, or I love what you do. So let people do that for you.
Yeah, and when they fund you, it means that that what you love to do can continue, because even though, like we said, metrics isn't everything, it is a part of the business story. We need to be mindful so that we can sustain ourselves and have a lifestyle that we're content with, that we're happy with. And success is not a dirty word, and success is defined by however you define it. It doesn't have to be, just because, Kim Kardashian says success is having a private jet, that doesn't mean that's your success. But if it is, that's okay too.
And if you don't like the word success, you're an artist. Change it.
Yeah.
Come up with your own word for it.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for being on the show. We're newly branded Studio Biz and all that jazz.
Congratulations.
So excited. It's been a journey, and I'm just so happy to have you here on the show. So thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Josephine. Thanks for having me. Thanks for listening.
This episode was brought to you by my signature group coaching program, Studio Biz Success. an amazing and accessible online educational platform for performing arts studio owners designed to help you grow your business with confidence and get your results. Check it out at josephinelancuba.com, along with other great industry resources to help you leap into the studio biz you deserve. If you love this episode, be sure to share it with your friends. You can tag me on social media at Josephine Lancuba and give it a review. Your support helps the show to grow so I can continue to provide you with useful, informative content. I'm Josephine Lancuba, your biggest cheerleader. Thanks for listening and shine bright.